Once upon a time, there was a poor fisherman named Emeka who lived in a small village by the sea in Nigeria. Every day, he would take his small fishing boat out on the ocean and trying to catch enough fish to feed his family and make a little money. One morning, Emeka went out earlier than usual before the sun was fully up. The ocean was calm and peaceful. As he cast his net into the water, he felt a strong tug on the other end. "This must be a big fish," he thought excitedly. With all his might, Emeka began pulling up the net. To his surprise, instead of fish, the net contained the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. She had long, flowing hair, and her body seemed to end in a shimmering fishtail instead of legs. "A mermaid!" Emeka exclaimed in shock. He had heard legends of these magical sea creatures, but never believed they could be real. The mermaid looked at him. "Please, kind sir, let me go. I mean you no harm," she spoke in a melodious voice. Emeka was in disbelief that this mythical being could talk. "How can I let you go? Mermaid are said to bring great fortune to any human who captures one." "Please," the mermaid begged. "I only want my freedom. I will reward you greatly if you release me." Emeka considered her words, but the thought of living in poverty forever made his heart ache. "I cannot let this chance pass me by," he decided firmly. He expertly tied the net around the mermaid to secure her. As he began rowing back to shore with the mermaid up in his boat, she sadly accepted her fate. "Very well. Since you insist on keeping me captive, my name is Nene, and I will be your obedient prisoner." The other fishermen gaped in astonishment when Emeka returned to shore with a real live mermaid. News spread quickly in the small village. Soon a large crowd had gathered, all wanting to see the magical creature up close. Some were frightened and thought Emeka was possessed by dark magic for capturing a mermaid. Others begged him to ask Nene to grant them good wishes. But Emeka had other plans. "This mermaid is mine alone. With her powers, my poverty will be over for good," he declared to the crowd. Emeka took Nene into his small hut and locked her in a large tank filled with salt water so she could live comfortably out of the ocean while remaining his captive. Every day, he would bring her fish to eat. "Please, Emeka, I do not belong here on land with humans," Nene would say sadly. "The ocean is my home." But Emeka refused to listen. "With you by my side, I will become the wealthiest man in the land," he said happily. A few weeks went by, and Emeka's life did not change at all. He was still as poor as before. Frustrated, he confronted Nene one day. "You lied to me. You said having a mermaid would bring fortune." Nene shook her head. "I promised you a reward for my freedom, nothing more. Holding me against my will offends the sea goddess. That is why you are still impoverished." Emeka let out an angry groan and stormed out of the hut. Slamming the door behind him, he refused to give up so easily. That night, as he laid sleepless in his bed, Nene began singing a lovely, beautiful song. Her soothing melody floated through the walls until it filled the entire village. Emeka had never heard anything so lovely. As if in a trance, Emeka got up and went back into the room holding the water tank. "What are you doing to me with your magical singing?" he asked in a daze. "I will use my gifts to help you if you promise to one day grant me freedom and be my husband," Nene replied. "My song can charm humans and bring you wealth beyond your wildest dreams." Emeka readily agreed. "Yes, I will marry you, just help me become a rich man," he said. The next day, everything began changing for Emeka. Villagers started lining up outside his hut, offering Emeka money in exchange for hearing Nene's enchanting voice. Her song healed the sick and brought peace to the troubled. People began calling her the healing mermaid and believed she had special powers. Within a few months, Emeka went from a poor fisherman to a wealthy businessman. He was able to build himself a large mansion filled with nice furniture and hire servants. He became one of the richest men in the coastal region. Meanwhile, Nene remained locked up in a big water tank inside Emeka's mansion. He kept his promise to marry her, and they had a private wedding ceremony. She now lived more like a beloved pet than a prisoner. However, the wealth began to corrupt Emeka's spirit. He grew arrogant and abusive toward Nene. Sometimes, when he was angry, he would beat her mercilessly, even though she always obeyed his command. Nene sadly accepted his cruelty, patiently waiting for the day he fulfilled his vow to release her. Unfortunately, as Emeka obtained more money and power, that day never came. He became greedy for more. He soon took another wife, a human woman from a wealthy family. The mermaid wife was now pushed aside and forgotten. When Nene realized her captor had broken his promise and betrayed their sacred marriage, she was heartbroken but not surprised. The healing mermaid stopped singing. No amount of beating from Emika could make the beautiful songs pass from her lips again. Without Nene's charming voice, the fortune Emeka had amassed through exploitation of her gift began slipping away. Within a year, Emeka went from being the richest man in the region back to a penniless fisherman living in a shack. His new human wife and servants quickly abandoned him as soon as the money ran out. No, he was utterly alone except for Nena languishing away in her prison tank. In desperation, Emeka returned to her pleading. "My beautiful Nene, please use your powers to bring me riches again. I will grant you your freedom," Emeka said soberly. But Nena turned away from him. "I cannot trust the word of someone who has lied and mistreated me for so long. The sea goddess is punishing your greed," Nene replied. Wild with rage, Emeka grabbed a knife and stuck the sharp point against Nene's scaly belly. "Then you will die like the worthless fish you are!" he shouted. Just then, the entire room began shaking violently like an earthquake. Thunder boomed overhead even though there were no storm clouds outside. The glass tank Nene was confined in suddenly shattered, spilling water everywhere. A powerful voice echoed through the room like the roar of an ocean wave. "Return what's stolen from me!" Emeka gasped in terror as he realized the sea goddess herself was infuriated by his actions. Nene levitated from the broken tank, now glowing with shimmering light. Her mermaid tail transformed into legs, and she walked effortlessly across the floor before Emeka. The rumbling stopped as suddenly as it started. When Emeka looked up in shock from cowering on the floor, Nene had vanished completely as if she was never there. From that day forward, Emeka's fortune never recovered. He spent the final miserable years of his life as a homeless beggar, abused and ignored by the village that once looked up to him. The villagers never saw the beautiful Nene again. But fishermen in the village claimed to sometimes hear haunting melodies drifting across the waves on moonlight nights. Perhaps the healing songs of the mermaid who was brutally betrayed by human greed. I hope the story has inspired you as much as it has inspired me. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment. Goodbye.